Good morning, everybody. This is Rao Kolusu coming to you on the morning of this Sunday. Uh, as I promised, I was going to present to you an argument about better education, where we ask the question: is present education only for survival or blossoming the individual in goodness, in uh, wisdom, and not just being the cog in the wheel, but expressing himself in his inner earnings, his inner urges, and the talents that he has, and the contributions he can make in a original way. Okay, so this question actually I faced in 1985. When I was really looking at the schools started by some elite groups with this intention of making the individual uh, come to fruition. They saw, flowering, that is called. So everybody has their own inner um, feeling of doing something in life, and those people may not have the choice or may not have the opportunity, or when they go through the uh, regular education, it's more like a memory testing curriculum, and whoever does that well, they do very well, whereas they may not be very perceptive, very wholesome individuals at the end of education. That was the question, right? So they were examining that. What is the way of we are teaching the kids? Are we encouraging them to develop their memory, and thereby they can do very well in the competitive tests, and come out with some bookish knowledge, and then later on they regret that they have chosen the wrong profession, or they don't have the satisfaction of expressing themselves, or they don't have the opportunity to evolve for what they are, that kind of thing. So then I came across Jiddu Krishnamurti schools in England and Switzerland and California, and also in India. Okay, their message was very simple. They said, we don't want to make the kids cog in the wheel of the industrial factory mentality, assembly line mentality. Rather, they wanted them to be these individuals that are have questions about life, about uh, everything, and they open up the questions and probe into that in freedom and in really encourage an atmosphere. The parents, the schools, the political system, everything is really trying to make each student an asset to the society and to for themselves too. So then they called, how can you really flower this inner um, talents or inner urges or inner tendencies to reflect on the individual being happy with what he's doing and what he is rather than what he has. See, most of the society was building like how much money you have, and will tell you whether you're successful or not. Okay? From that premise, what are you going to be? What kind of person you're going to be? What kind of contribution you're going to make to the world, and thereby actualizing yourself. At the time, a lot of people were interested in education as a whole, and then they wanted to reform the education ever since. I have been hearing this ever since, but we don't see that in the um, regular education system. But in some special school systems that I have seen, one is Jiddu Krishnamurti's, other one is Sadhguru's Sanskrit schools. All those schools, they paid attention to the development of the whole individual, not just the memory only, but then perceptive abilities, physical prowess, intellectual prowess, and emotional intelligence, and also really having a uh, outlook on what's going on with the earth, that kind of thing. So I have a guest here. Okay, Bella is coming.
Hi, Dr. Rao.
Hi, Bella. How are you?
Very well. You picked two interesting topics
Yeah.
yesterday and today that have come up.
Yeah, yeah, very good. Okay. Well,
Yes. Like you are very much interested in education
yeah,
because education is what made me. And as you probably heard in my rooms, I'm always acknowledging my parents for
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And I agree with you that we need education which is combines mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I have, um, but I also want to say that the wheel keeps on being reinvented because as a child, I went to international school, and it was mainly mind, body, and spirit. But you could also say that it would be because of the uh, group of people that were pulled from that to go to those schools. But also the Montessori method
Yeah, yeah.
is a questioning method. And, the children don't start kindergarten by, rote learning, but by inquiry, why is this? They direct their study.
Exactly.
So they have a more inquiring mind.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, and I think it's the best because I've seen both sides, and I was not very good.
Yeah.
When I say not very good, I mean I have leadership qualities, but I don't think my professors liked me very much at my first university because I mean it's a well-known university because it was all rote learning. But then when I went to Hopkins, I was very comfortable because they used a Lenkos method, which is the Socratic method.
Yeah.
Which is, and and perhaps that's why they won so many Nobel Prizes, where the professor is there. You start a subject, and for instance, they would say, uh, DNA. Who knows about DNA? So, the hands would go up and everybody would say their bed. And then they keep on probing. And not only did it force you to think outside the box, it also forced you to get to know your classmates and the way they their thought processes.
Exactly.
And it also allowed you to expand your thought process.
Exactly. Any interaction that promotes more opening up new neurological cells, probably.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And you find that when you have these methods, the the actual framework of learning, which is rote learning, becomes much more simpler, and you also remember it more. And I'd like your opinion on that because you connect with other things. It's like you latch things onto it. So you remember the facts a lot better.
Yeah. I have personal experience of this, Bella, because in high school, every other teacher used to tell us the lesson, explain it, and then ask us questions and all that. But there were one teacher. He happened to be our headmaster, the dean, like high school. But he was teaching us history and English and sometimes mathematics. But then his style was, tomorrow we're going to talk about this lesson. Go and read and come. We don't know anything about the lesson. When we came, he stimulated us with asking questions. He would not explain anything. He would say, who knows, like you said, knows the DNA, like that. What it made me was to really open up my mind about learning something new and also really being very happy about it. And then it's more like a Socratic method where you ask the question without any knowledge of anything, and then your brain has to respond to that. And that interaction, the discussion among us we had was wonderful. For example, there was this emperor who was very, very cruel to his people, and they brought him, and he made us discuss what is right, what is not, why should we killing him, why should he be killing people, or what is wrong about it. All those bigger issues also opened up, and then after our discussion is done, he kind of chimed in and then said, okay, also had this person has this and all that. And you are absolutely right, we came to know what people were thinking about these things, what kind of stuff they are made up of by interaction.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And you might appreciate this. In two of the universities I attended,
Mm.
when I was at business school, there were people from the institutes
Yeah.
in India.
Mm.
And, when they told me how the selection process went, I was like, whoa, I would fail it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about brilliant minds.
Yeah.
And what I noticed, and we had a discussion about this, is that the knowledge about the subject was very, very deep.
Mm.
But when it came to creative problem solving,
Mm.
it was very lacking. And when I was and my tutor for quantum mechanics was a person from the institute.
Yeah.
And through our discussions, I'm so grateful to him for calculus. Seriously, he just broke it down to so simply.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, he recognized that I wasn't a mind who was going to go step one, step two, step three, step four, five. So we talked about life. We talked about quantum mechanics and spirituality.
Yeah.
So some of the things I talk about here is actually from the discussions we had.
Yeah.
And through that, I had an interest in quantum mechanics. And through that, he also said to me he liked it because I kept asking him questions and he had to think about things rather than to rote learn. Exactly. So when you have the two combined, you have a brilliant mind. And I saw that with this gentleman who was then working on aspects of, let's just put it, on aspects of space science, which Hopkins is very well known for. And he started to smile a lot more. He started to be a lot more relaxed.
Yeah.
It wasn't just, he knew spirituality, he knew physics, but they were in two different boxes, so to speak.
Yeah.
And when asking questions like you do, medicine and yoga, they're not two different disciplines. You can draw from each. So thank you for allowing me to talk about the subject. I really enjoy education. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in, Bala, and that's a very interesting and also very enlightening to a lot of people because in any society there will be Bellas who are very rare who can really stimulate their thinking and come and explore, and that's very illustrative to let us know that how her mind opened up, how it has been going on by opening up, and she is exploring things with her original mind. That's the thing I got from her. What she is doing in that Hopkins is she is opening up her intelligence, and the more you open up, the more it grows, and that we can see Bella is evolved into that. Combine.
Dr. Rao, I thank you for all your kind words. Yeah. I'd like to say it's all by divine grace.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But then
I'm very, very grateful.
Yeah.
That divine intelligence walks with me on this journey.
Exactly.
And stay blessed.
Yeah. Yeah, very good, Bella. Thank you very much. And that that is true. You see, how many schools and colleges are really helping the individual to open up like that? That's the question that I'm posing. If it is doing it well and good. But if you look at the product end of education, how many people are really, thinking for themselves? How many people are posing questions that can really help them to understand life as it is, and the society as it is, and also their own capabilities of dealing with the stress or burnout or failures or successes and all of that. We see all those problems going on all the time, right? That's what I'm trying to discuss here. It's not that we're going to give a prescription, we're going to just present. Maybe we should stimulate the kids more. Maybe we should allow them to do more problem solving and asking these intelligent questions. Thereby, they themselves feel like they are really coming out with some genuine questions, and then they're learning it. That way, they won't comply with principles and policies that may be favoring one group or the other, and they will know what is right, what is not. Like, right, not a moral thing. It's more like a capability of questioning. That's, after all, the democracy is that, right? When we ask fundamental questions and we take it to the legislation and say, we don't want this, we want this, and the majority tells what it is, and the more majority has awareness and intelligence, the better the society will be, right? So that's the foundation for that is the education. So, as I say it, but majority of the industrial nations are catering to getting memory and performance on the exams, and then when they have done that, they may become some kind of professional, and then that may be saturated, but still they dish out a lot of. In India, for example, there are so many obscene number of engineers are produced now, you know but not to the national goals and national priorities and all. What they are doing is they are just dishing out colleges and making education as a business, where the money is paid to the colleges to get a degree, and they may do the regular education of subjects, curriculum, and all that. But are they paying attention to the inner side of the human being? That's my question. No doubt we have to have the proficiency in science and technology and mathematics and engineering. All of them are fine, but if you don't have the inner person development, they may not be using those skills for the welfare of everybody or welfare of the democratic nations or societies, right? They may be doing something very self-oriented, and then that itself could be damaging to them. And then later on, where can you have spirituality if you don't have the evolution from inside? So that blossoming is like kind of certain people would do athletics, and then we have to struggle so hard to make, oh, you have to have at least this much grade before you can do the football game or whatever, right? Instead, why can't we have holistic development? For example, in one school I know that kids are asked to get up in the morning and go and sit in front of the sunrise. The school is in the hills, so they have a magnificent opportunity to see that, and also at night time the sunset. What does it do? It does make the kids get up in the morning and then go and be in touch with the nature, and also enjoy the sun's rising, and also really the energies are revved up. In yoga, there is what's called three types of energies. The energy that makes you get up and go is called rajasic. The energy that makes you feel like I want to take it easy, I don't want to work and all of that, that is tamasic. And that's kind of slows down everything, the metabolism and all of that. You want to be in between. You don't want to running around too much, or you don't want to be lazy and not doing anything at all. Okay, you want to be in between. So if you allow that tamasic, easy taking, lazy energy, actually it kind of puts your metabolism down and down, and then you will not be really having a good body, because you have slowed it down so much. You can teach that for the kids by asking them sleep late, and get up in the morning is a problem and all that. But if they get up in the problem in the morning, then this problem of tamasic energy, that is lazy energy, will not be there. They'll be get going. Okay, so that's a good thing they are teaching them by asking to rise early and also be in touch with the nature. That's just an example, not that you have to punish people because they don't get up. But this is what we are doing to the metabolism of our bodies by not teaching them something like that. But if they have purpose, if they have some kind of goal in their curriculum and all of that, they could start that in the morning too. But then they were given attention to the body maintenance, and breathe and exercise and play something. That if you start them with that physical thing, it's much better for them to absorb the new material that they have to do. I know one school in Naperville, Illinois, which is close to us. We go to the near by the Indian groceries and all that. We go to Chicago in Naperville. There, the school makes people walk on the treadmill before they are exposed to the new material. And then they showed when these kids are exercising, and right after that, they were able to absorb the new material much faster. This was done as a study also. So I was convinced because I knew about this. Because in yoga, what you do is in the morning, you want to wake up with a few exercises on the spine. One of the very good example is sun salutations. If you do the sun salutation, you wake up because there's a lot of bending forward and backward of the spine, and that you are simulated and you wake up. Even if you do one time, that's good enough. It's a series of 12 postures put together one sequence, that's called the sun salutations. Also, there is a deeper spiritual meaning. If you have to go into that, then we are really saluting the sun, who is really giving us life by giving his sunshine, right? So you're getting grateful, and you are kind of paying homage to him, and also you are absorbing that energy into you, whereby you are up and about, right? So that kind of orientation to the physical culture, where you get up in the morning and do something about it. And also being aware of what's happening with your body and with your mind, all those things can be done too. So this kind of routines where you address the physical needs, the mental needs, and also psychological needs and spiritual needs can be incorporated like a play, or like a something of not a punishment, but more like an enjoyable thing. So if you have that balance, and then you also allow the kid to pursue his interest, like for example, I kind of talk about my son because that's something that could be illustrative. He was singing a song at 2 years of age. He doesn't even know the meaning of that song because it's in Indian language, but he repeated the entire word to word and tune and everything by himself completely. He was joyfully singing. So I knew he was musically oriented, and we encouraged him. And then he took up trumpet, and then he became very expert on the trumpet playing, and he was enjoying that. That's the main thing for us. And then he became a band teacher and all that. That's fun. But we did not say that you have to be a doctor because your father is a doctor. No, we allowed whatever he enjoys. Ultimately, for me, when you're doing something, if you're heart in it and you're enjoying it and you're also contributing to the life around, that is really being a human being. That is the blossoming I'm talking about. It's not just accumulation of some physical resources, but it's really inner resources. How much joy you have in your life, how much capacity you have to deal with the difficult problems that you may encounter in your life, and how much energy you have, how much you are really interacting with people in a positive way. Like we are acting here, like a family. We come and talk about it, that kind of thing. So this is all the blossoming from within is something that I'm always for, and also we don't have to belittle anybody just because they don't do that, but encourage them to have an atmosphere where they can also feel like I can also try this, I can also participate in this, I can have encouragement from my family, from my colleagues, from my schoolmates, from my congressmen, all that, right? All that makes a difference, I think. That's why examine local school, and that's what I did with the small town I was in practicing. I talked to the headmaster, I talked to the teachers, I talked to the student body and all those people, because they used to come to my clinic as patients or as seeking from donations or things like that. I used to make a few minutes time, and I used to talk to them about the conditions in their school. They had a very large number of suicides. Why should kids in a small urban area in Iowa should be having that high suicide rate? That's what I was very disturbed about. And then I talked to them, and I told them about getting the physical exercise, and also asking the kids to have some mental health counseling, and also understanding their own interior in a spiritual way. Those kind of things, small things, really helped some people. And most of the people don't understand it is the suicidal thought is just a thought, and thought is our instrument, our faculty. It's not us complete, it's only part of it. But why are we giving it so much importance is because we don't understand how to not to rake up those thoughts that much. The media we expose them to, the examples that we do to, and then so we don't provide them constructive ways of expressing themselves, so that they get into negative thinking, and is accentuated by the social media, and then atmosphere at home and the school, all those complicated them, and then they felt that I can't handle this life. This is too much. That's why I have to end my life. So that's very unfortunate. I really feel bad when I hear about those cases. And then now it is a big deal, right? So what are we doing? Are we giving the kids the enthusiasm to live, the way they live, the way they express themselves, the enjoyment they can get from the variety of things that you can do. All these things. This is a new joy I found relating to people on the social media. I was not doing this when I was very busy with my practice. In only that COVID time, I started giving the Zoom lectures for the sake of giving information to the friends and family, and also my patients here and in India too. So that Zoom was a real blessing, I think. Every week I used to do that, and they started going to the clubhouse, and then I came to the wisdom. So now I'm really enjoying communicating with people, knowing people like Bella, Lois, or any number of people, right? Sanya, Gracilia, Daryl, all those friends we made, Martin. So all those wonderful people I came to know is because we are reaching out. We are reaching out to the people. And that's why I thought every day in the morning we can have a thought that is elevating our entire intellect, and making us question, not just taking for granted and say this is education is for the school board or politicians, but as parent, if you think that okay, they can learn skills to make a livelihood, that's fine, but don't stop there. But we want people to really learn skills that can blossom them out, so that they can flower whatever intentions they have, whatever the instincts they have, whatever the tendencies they have. I too believe, like Bella, the divine grace is the one which kind of makes us have these tendencies, have these. I think without that grace, we won't be having them probably. But he may also ask us to put our effort to realize those um, blessings that we have within each person. And for that we have to really make our effort and inclination towards that. That's why I want every few parents, if they question this and then they gather together instead of just giving everything to the school board, they could say, is there holistic development by child? Is the child having enough exercise? Is the child having this questioning um, ability to really improve his thought? Is there tolerance in him, or really love and affection for his own siblings and parents and all of that? Then we can allow the emotional intelligence where he can really appreciate we are all in one energy, one family, and that way he won't have those other negative emotional problems, and then he will not be angry and hatred or all of that. Right? We don't pay attention to that as the forces are trying to uh, gain control over the psyche of the kids. We don't pay attention to that. That's what I'm saying. I don't think it takes much time. It's a question of inclination. And then few parents getting together. Well, we can have a pizza party, and then in the evening, you can get out and then say what are the situations in the school and in the kids, what is going on, and then encourage this kind of thing. For example, I will give you one particular thing that we could do. We could put what's called digital sunset, which I started with my sisters and other people in India. What it is after evening, maybe 5, 6, 7, whatever you determine is the sunset is going, combine the sunset with the digital sunset, putting away all the devices, and except the person, kids are doing something like a computer work or all of that, that maybe homework is done, then shut it off. The entertainment that we provide on the phones, on the iPads, on the computers and all that, is that has to be done all the time, especially at night time. What it is sunset of the digital means shutting off all the devices and living the life. Means what? Converse, talk to each other, and really explore each other's mind, or start a garden, or take care of the life around you, and just be a human being for a change. Otherwise, this addiction to the phones, addiction to the devices, addiction, all of that is causing problems with the attention, right? That's one thing I always wanted to point out. So have a digital sunset and live like a human being those few hours before you sleep, and then sleep. In the morning, don't touch them right away. Just come to the senses of what where you are, what you are, and be in awareness, and then really take care of them later on. So the first 1 hour before you sleep and first 1 hour before, after you wake up, are very important, especially for the kids, to really have them neurologically intact. It's not my imagination. I think this is actually a fact. That people know about it, and lots of people struggle to have that 1 hour for this. And so we do yoga. Zanya comes and my wife comes, and we do yoga every day. But no Sunday, no Saturday. Sometimes people may take off sometime, but basically this is like a habit. Now you get up in the morning and you be in awareness for an hour and do the asanas and breathing and everything at the time, and then start everything else you want to do. And also take breaking points, maybe a couple of times or 3, 4 times a day. Stop and come to the present moment awareness. That's what I call PMA. So these things, digital sunset and early morning rise, and being awareness of the first hour after you wake up, and during the day take a present moment to breathe with 1 minute every so often. Maybe 1 hour is good. If cannot be, just maybe that. I used to do that. I used to have this Apple Watch remind me every 1 hour, 1 minute. That's it. And then it became a real good way for me to be in the present all the time. You know, and after all, that is the life. But then we can talk about things, we can discuss things, but always be aware of where you are, what is happening, what is around. Like that, what's happening with the kids, what's happening with their external development, are they really being healthy and physically really strong, or they are not, and they are becoming obese, they are eating a lot, and they're sitting in front of the phone or TV and then not having much activity. Reverse that. It's a very, very simple thing. If we don't do that, they get into the habit and later on it becomes a very problem, right? um, I mean, sports is a wonderful thing, but then sports also has become a spectator sport. I want a involved sport where you are actually playing, actually participating. Otherwise, this sitting and being a spectator becomes more like a pleasure oriented, which is not good for the mind. Also, in the long run, that is the problem. Okay, that's a big problem. People don't notice that this entertainment has become a problem in first of all making the body sit down, and second of all mind racing. But we want it exactly opposite. We want move the body and keep the mind still for health, for so many reasons. That's the simple thing, right? Keep the body moving and mind silent. But we don't do that, that kind of thing. So I hope I have been presenting this in the right perspective, not in a negative, but that we need to pay attention to these kids, how they are developing, what is happening to them, what is that they really want in life as they're getting strong, growing up. They may have so many influences. It's not like before, where only father or mother can influence the kid. The moment they wake up, they go into this world, and anybody can come on their phone, and then they may take up influences. People are not paying attention to social media encouraging suicide, social media encouraging some terrorist activity. All those things are happening, right? It may not happen to that extent to our kids, but at least you have to be aware of what's going on, what kind of influences coming their way, and do they have enough confidence in you to confide in you so that you can tell them what is what, and will they listen? Those kind of things are there, right? So you want to pay attention to that. What is happening to them physically, what is happening to them mentally, what is happening to them spiritually, and all that. And then us living it and conveying it the best way, and also really being a responsible parent, and in a way that we can tell the kids to reach. One technique I think I would say that helped me was when they're growing up. I read this somewhere, and then they recommended that, said every day make 5 minutes time for the kids, and that is not related to the school. Something outside, something else. You can talk about ecology, you can talk about political, you can all of that. Not to really being too political, but then how it happens and all. So I used to tell them how the laws are made, and I used to tell them major trends going on. For example, Supreme Court nomination is going on. Why it is so important, what it is, and so they kind of knew a lot of things slowly, but in a way not like a big lecture or not. Just oh, did you see that news that they are trying to nominate this people Supreme Court? So what do you think? Then they have looked up those things and then learned, and then they understood the forms of government and all of. So something not related to school. Okay, I used to talk about breathing. I used to talk about present movement. I used to talk about what is the law. I told one time, I think my son is around 10 or 11, and he had this big question: why they are saying a law and all? What is the law and all? And he was very popular with kids in the school, and obviously there was a lot of interaction with girls and all that too. At 10 to 15 years age, they have those things, right? I told him, as far as I understood is, love is a tremendous feeling of affection you give to somebody without expecting anything in return. And that really made an impression on him, and he stuck to it, so and then his relationship with other, everything has taken a human transformation level. Okay, and that is a good for him because he really wanted to be affectionate to them, so that he was not exploiting them for anything, and he was not expecting anything in return. So he made a lot of friends like that. So simple things like that would help him. So take 5 to 10 minutes every day and talk to the kids up until they are, up to 15 years, something like that. Something not related to the school activities. You can talk about the school activities if there are problems and all of that, that's fine. But then this habit made me really realize that they could come to me if they have something else going on in their life. That's a good thing to really communicate with them, I think. But later on, once they become adults, I don't really um, do that, and then they themselves initiate. For example, my son had this problem with the previous president. He was not very happy and he was really angry with him. Then I needed to bring my spiritual quotient into that. I said, remember, we are all one, there are no others. So you can raise against injustice you think that other people are doing, but don't raise against them because they are you, right? So there are no others. The other person, our family, may be errant, may be having this mind that is not evolved and all that. That's fine. But then don't have to make that negative quality of hating or angry with them as your thing, because you are robbing your own spiritual energy that way. So instead of lot of lectures, only one word: there are no others. That was uttered by Dr. Ramana Maharshi. So I quoted him. See, what did Ramana Maharshi say? There are no others. So we are all one. But then we don't approve what he is doing, keep it like that. But why does it have to become a negative hatred, anger within you? Thereby, you are losing your own spiritual quality. And that was a simple thing. We were going to a hotel because he was having some function in his school or something. He was doing a concert or something, and we went there to attend. So we stayed in the hotel, and then we drove to his place. On the drive, this happened. And then his anger went down, and then he was able to perform very well at the concert. So, I mean, there are teaching moments. There are ways to communicate with them, but not with the attitude like I know and you have to know, but then just pointing out what is going on. So that kind of awareness, that kind of attention is all possible if we are really attending to our own inner beings and also paying attention to the what is happening to the inner dimension of our kids. That's what I'm talking about. We can have, like in Germany, for example, what they do is each kid is considered like a national asset, and they will make sure that they are getting the training of things that they want to teach, the skills that they want to learn. But apart from that, they also pay attention that they have security because they promise a job all the time. And also, they have this expectation you have to have excellence in your job. And they also pay attention to how they are relating to other people in general. I thought I saw a documentary on that made in 80s or 90s, late 90s maybe. They were making three kids as example: one in America, one in Japan, one in Germany. Okay, and they showed how the kids are brought up in Japan with a community-oriented thing, and they have to clean their own schools, and then they have to, really enjoy each other and appreciate each other and all that. Germany, I told you. And America, they showed this kid who was working in the teenagers. They were working in a Burger King, and he was making a lot of money at the burgers. And he already has a car, he has a girlfriend, and something like that at high school, and then he was for the newer skill. And we knew that America needs a lot of high tech educated individual into the newer technology, right? And to really get people from outside to work here, and then blame the outsiders that are coming here. How about raising the skills here? That's the thing. Even now also, you see, yesterday I heard a news piece on Russia. They are losing a lot of high tech people because they are leaving the country. They're fed up with it. So that is going to affect them in the long run. Because of the war, they don't agree with that, and so the highly technical, trained people are leaving the country. I believe. Yesterday there was a news on that. So those kind of things are there. So we have to focus on the needs of the country and what is important for the country. That's fine, but then what about the needs of the kids? What about their that is what I wanted to emphasize here. So with that, anything else? Anybody else wants to come up, and you can come up and you can tell me what you think about it, or do you agree, or no, you don't agree. But what is your take? Like Bella presented her take wonderfully well. I learned a few things about her on this. Day. I'm very grateful for that, for her coming up. Okay. Anybody else want to come up? You can come up and. Yeah. Sonia was asking me this morning, are we allowed to talk? Yeah, every day I woke, I invite people to come and talk about things. I never said nobody should come up or anything like that. I keep it open right away. They ask you, right? Do you want to guests to come in? I said, okay. So if you are comfortable to come, that's fine. If you are not, that's also fine too. I just want to put these thoughts in there, and a lot of people will have the same thoughts. They can also share, or if they are not thinking about it, and then we are bringing it even to one person to think about it. I think I have done a good thing. So let me see, somebody's coming. Hi, Bella.
Coming up again.
Yeah.
Hi. Hello.
Yeah, yeah, Bella.
I hope you don't mind me coming up again.
No, no, not at all. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I came up because I came up early and then I heard what that wise words you given to your son.
Yeah.
Even though he was a popular kid. And I just wanted to express that the narration in which you were given reminded me of the book The Little Prince.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the, the while you were speaking through it, I was just thinking, oh my gosh, this is similar to The Little Prince. It reminds me that the universal truth,
Yeah.
there is universal truth.
Yes.
And people express it in different ways.
Exactly.
And sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm agreeing with you.
And that when we actually spend time in getting to know people, that's when the true connections in both our developments occur. I'm not sure what your thoughts are.
Yeah, very, very true. Because unless you make a connection or try to open up and then invite people to really express themselves, how can you converse? So it's kind of out of respect to other people, and also ability to be able to stop and listen. That's also there, right? And all those things, I think he learned. I thought he was emotionally very highly intelligent kid, because he was very empathetic, and he was kind of kind. I think he got his mother's trait. So she's very patient, very uh, receiving, and very much giving, and all that too. So she's the personification of in energy. My wife is,
Well, you're very, very blessed
yeah,
because it reminds me of the flower in the Little Prince.
yeah,
Because, you know, there are thousands and thousands of people.
yeah.
But when we connect with people, they become unique to us and we become unique to them.
See, one other thing I told Bella, I didn't mention that came to me now was there's the story of this prince brought up by a gardener in India. All the time they used to have this tradition, send the kid to the gardener so that the gardener allows the prince to plant new life and get it grow, and then thereby really appreciating nature, really appreciating other life also, you know. Uh, and then the implication was he felt all the people that he is ruling over as his children, and that kind of nurturance was allowed in the prince by making him a gardener part-time. So that is a very good education, I thought. So they always felt the prince is here for to rule the earth and then to rule the people. So he has to have his training. So they used to, who was living in the forest, and he doesn't take any money, anything like that, but then he teaches the kid everything. But then the kid has to pay by bringing fruits and vegetables from the forest, or some wood to make the fire and all that. So that kind of nurturance in a practical way, where the kids felt that it's my duty to contribute to the upkeep of anybody. And he's not punished or anything. He was not really hit or anything, but he was shown what is the correct way, the universal law, they call it, right? And those were really demonstrated to the kids. That's what I was questioning. The present schools have become so much regimented, so much oriented to the results on the paper rather than real reflection in the personality or the character of the kid.
Very much so.
Yeah.
This quote from the Little Prince is often bandied around, but I think it epitomizes what you're saying.
Yeah.
That one sees clearly only with the heart.
Yeah.
Anything essential
Exactly.
is invisible to the eyes.
Yes.
And what the thing is that we don't see with the heart. We see with the eyes. Exactly. And I think this is something you said several times when I've heard you speak. That what is important is seeing with our heart. Because what we think is important, which is with our senses. I'm paraphrasing my thing. It doesn't really exist. And like that prince, he's taking care of the children. But may I suggest that when the children went into the woods to get the fruits, they looked for the best fruit.
Yeah.
They spent the time and attention choosing the best.
Yeah.
Which the prince would appreciate the fruit, but may I dare use the word, the essence of the fruit, the beauty of the fruit, those things which one doesn't speak about is what makes it special. And in The Little Prince, again, there are lots of roses. The book, The Little Prince, there are lots of roses. But that one particular rose is the rose it has paid time attention to. Knows its strengths, knows its weaknesses. And that's why it puts a shield around it to protect it, because it is its rose. So when we speak, what I got from saying to your son, form relationships, don't expect anything back from it. It is like enjoying the essence of the person rather than the image that people see. Thank you very much.
It's not the transactional, and once you take that out, everything will be very, very good. There's another thing about the kids going to the forest and getting the fruits, Bella. they impressed on them the fruit won't come unless you put the seed and then water it and allow the sunshine and all the conditions that are needed for the nurturance that are needed, and then only this blossoming of the kid comes out. So you got to allow the atmosphere, the teacher, the surroundings, everything full of love and affection and nurturing the qualities in a nice way. They did not make it compulsory, these people have to go and contribute, but they did allow them to contribute. Thereby, the kids felt like, I'm really helping this ashram, that they call it Gurukula, and that is a very, very simple thing that they did. But then they did not have this complex. This is a prince. He was treated just like anybody else with other people.
You remind me, I always remember the first time I saw a daisy.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so beautiful. Yes. That I picked them and I went and gave it to my teacher.
Mm.
Several years I realized it was weed.
Yeah, yeah.
But I didn't know, I was a child and I thought they looked so beautiful. Yeah. And that's a bit like the prince, right? Yeah. We see the beauty. Yeah. Of what it is, and we just want to express the love to another. Yeah. Through that beauty, and now even when I see daisies, I still smile. Yeah. Picking them up, go to my teacher, and my teacher was saying how beautiful it is. Exactly. And then later on, I get to know it was classified by society as a weed. Yeah. And I think daisies are so, so, so beautiful. Yeah. So I'd like to end by saying again, and this is something you say quite a lot, what is really important to us can only be seen by the heart. Anything essential is invisible to the eyes, and that's from the book The Little Prince. Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Rao.
Thank you, Bella. Thank you for coming up. Yeah, I talk about this heartfulness that was given to me by my mom, who had 7 children, and my dad suddenly died because he had a stroke at the time. They didn't have much treatment for the stroke, and he had after stroke. I think second time, I think he would not survive. But then by the time she's only in her 30s, she already had 7 children because they get married very early in India at that time. And then all the wealth walked away because she has no management skills or nothing, right? And then one thing that she has was this capacity to give and absorb a lot of suffering into her, but then to others she was very giving. I saw her giving her own food to other people, the servants that were there, and she go hungry, but then she was very happy that she fed everybody. That kind of heartfulness I saw close quarters, and I was the seventh child, so I was always mommy's boy. I was always with her. And also even my medical degree happened in the same town. I did not go anywhere else. I was my whole education happened in one thing, and I was with my mom. Single parent, but then she did very well of showing what is love and how to give it. What is heartfulness? So there was no assessment or no judgment, no punishment or anything. She accepted for who I am, and then allowed me to go and explore things on my own. But then appreciated very much when it was good or something, important, or any contributions, small or big, and then allowed us to grow with the right influences and all that too. She didn't do anything voluntary; she did just by being her. That heartfulness is something I never wanted to lose, and I will come back to it if I stay away from it throughout my life. That's what how it happened. Um, Even on the social media, I'm happiest when I give, but then there's commercial concerns and all those things come. That's when I'm uncomfortable, but then still people have to do that, right? So let's see. Another friend is coming. Hi. William. Good afternoon. How are you? I'm good. How are you? I'm doing very well. Yeah. Um, it's funny we're talking about um, sort of the heart-centered aspects, right? Yeah. And it's interesting because it sort of prompted me to remember some stuff, and I went online to look it up again just to make sure I was going to speak, yeah, with some sort of coherence, let's call it. Yeah, sure. And especially when we talk about the Asian cultures, right? Their approach of learning is from heart learning as opposed to intellectual learning. In other words, you don't just need to have the intellectual, the logical understanding of the need for learning, but that passion to learn, that drive to learn, yeah, is so important. And there's a couple of studies. I don't know if they're peer reviewed or not, so I'm not going to quote them directly. But long story short is there is the numbers show that heart learning approach, and the emotional, yeah, fuel to learn and grow, it shows a much better outcome. Yeah. And if you're just focusing on the logical aspects of learning or the logical need to learn, yeah, among many other things that can apply that to. So, yeah. Yeah, there is. It remind me of something about in Tao. They talk about Li. That Li is that churning, that mindful drive that we have from our own inner compulsions is really considered as a tool in the mind that people have. And if you pursue that, universe will open that. That's the essence of Li. I thought that was very well put. And in ancient Indian culture, also they talked about these energies that each person born with. Some are born with one kind, other kind, and those energies are according to your nature. So that is natural for you, and then you follow that natural energy, that you will result much more accomplished and really actualized life, rather than forcing something that is not within you. And we call this is like a where your heart is, but it's they described, I thought, it a little more detail, Lee, or this prakriti. So ancient wisdom has a lot to offer to us that is relevant to us in this present life. Where you say the intellectual dominance versus the heart is really a thing that we are seeing. It's not that one thing or the other, but the balance of it. If you can give it to the kids, I think they will be better off. But we are kind of rewarding people only young energy, not the in energy. Saying that if you are a kid, a young person, a young man should be like this, young woman like this. That's not the way. In and yang combination, if they can have reflect in their instructions or education, I think they are better off. Interesting. Yeah, I know. So the article I was checking out, I'm gonna mangle this, but I'm gonna try anyway. The Chinese folk term of "how xu xin," which translates as heart and mind for wanting to learn. Yeah, exactly. That is a Lee I'm talking about too. That's the term for Got it. That. Yeah. So, and absolutely, because there's Confucius more like a indoctrination, because he said you're animal, you have to be tamed, and then system has to indoctrinate. And that was the time, and that was relevant at the time. But after that, the time has passed, and now the need is, especially with AI and other technologies coming up, we need much more attention to the soft skills. Otherwise, a lot of mundane things will be done by the machines, obviously. And what is the human being is going to do with himself, with his interior? Can he live with himself? Can he? We had a taste of that in the COVID. A lot of people could not stay with themselves, confined to their homes, and they had really had difficult time dealing with their own interior. But now people have realized that's a good thing, and then some of them are leaving jobs because of this thing they found. They have the resources, and they have better things to do with themselves and their family, and more important thing, expression of their art or whatever, rather than working for somebody and then giving their entire life away to them just to make a few more extra bucks. I think that is a side effect of COVID isolation and all that. They were examining this. How come so many people are resigning now? My take is that, and I think the people discovered there are more meaningful things I can do with myself or with my family, with my art, whatever I'm doing, and also make money on the internet without really going somewhere. I thought that's a you know. Consequence of making the people have to be segregated and all that. What do you think, Well, about that?
Yeah, I think for me, I think it stems from the base root of fear. And when people see, or there's two parts. Not just people seeing, but also people sort of hearing on TV. Because again, as you know, whether it's 5 times or whatever the amount of times, after a certain amount of times, what we think could be hypothetical then becomes almost real in the marketing psychological sense, even if it's not entirely true. And so people see on the news death and this and that, whatever. They see on the news people in hospitals and crowded hospitals, or whatever other of the if it quote unquote if it bleeds it leads, so to speak, then that plays into a person's psyche. It plays into a person's reactions, not responding but reactions. And also the next layer of that is the fear. Well, no, not layer, but let's put it this way: the fear itself drives. In other words, that fear of, oh, I could die tomorrow, so to speak, then pushes one to sort of think. Now, the thing is, you could have what I call an arena. I'm sure others may have said this, and so I'm not sure the quote or whatever, but my take on it has always been the quote unquote arena effect, meaning you go to an arena, you see a good sports game, or you go to a house of worship and you hear a good sermon. And I'm not knocking worship, don't get me wrong, but it's just the emotional aspect of you hear something good, you experience something good, rah rah rah, it's wonderful, and you're inspired, and then what?
No, that really caused problems too. The fear complex, and when the first wave came, people are not familiar with it. But then they saw the consequences of the first wave, death and long haul and suffering and all that. So second wave came, especially in India. We saw this. People even hearing that they're positive, they had so much fear, they died from it because the cytokine syndrome is much easier to really exacerbate in somebody who has this sympathetic overload of fear, anxiety, producing all the stress hormones. So when they went to the hospital, they are already really made a bad soup within themselves. And then they could not help it. They were just fearful like that. So there had to be a massive campaign of don't be afraid. Things are happening. We're coming with a vaccine. We're coming with therapeutic agents and all of that, and really counseling them. I had to do some people here. Don't be afraid. Don't let this overtake you. Just try to take deep breaths and then be optimistic. That kind of thing. Like this was the problem. A lot of people went into the massive cytokine syndrome, where the immunity acted against them because the virus has attacked. They were okay, their own immune system, how he reacted based on this emotional aspect also. So some of the villagers and all these people, they were sheer panicked. And then they kind of had the immune reaction act against them. That was true.
Yeah, on a coaching level or a behavioral level,
Yeah.
I view it as a priming effect. In other words, you have all this fear, you're primed, you're almost expecting something.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're in a car, like Tony Robbins says and others say whatever, where you're in a car, you're skidding, and most people will focus on the tree they're trying to avoid, as opposed to focusing on anywhere else where there's actual snow or grip for your tires
Yes.
or direction that's beneficial other than that blasted tree, so to speak.
Yes.
But as humans, we end up focusing on that tree, and of course, most people end up skidding into the tree.
Exactly.
So, yeah, no, I hear you. Absolutely hear you.
That's like a very good analogy, very good practical thing that happens to all of us. And that's why if you are practicing this awareness, deep breathing practices, you can have that reaction go down. And like Will was also using, responding to the challenge than reacting. That's an important skill that can be acquired by just doing these simple things of not allowing our reactions take over, is to breathe through it. That will be. Thanks, Will. Thanks for coming up and giving your perspective on that. Yeah. It's the kind of things that were happening in the COVID time. People were see, that's another thing that came out was, how come we didn't learn a lot of lessons that were already established in 1918 influenza pandemic? There also at the time train travel. So people who went to war came back, and then they went to different parts of any country, and they spread the pandemic too. Here we allowed the air travel to go much longer than what you should have. And then I think we knew about this potential of this pandemic in January, but we allowed for several months later the international travel and allowing this virus spread all over. I think that was something we could have done better. uh, so all these lessons we didn't learn is also something that happens all the time. So many wars happen, and then we don't learn, and then we kind of allow the wars to happen again and again, the same thing. One explanation Eckhart Tolle was talking about one time was, he said in the 20th century, maybe like 130 million people were killed because of the wars all over the world. And other statistic is, they said at any time, if you take the panoramic view of the world, there are 50 wars going on. 50 wars, small or big or whatever. Uh, so we could teach kids, so what is the reason for the war is, the Eckhart Tolle was talking about, we think we are egotistical people. Ego is our thing, and then we separate from other people, and then the wars start from there. Between the wife and husband, egoic. Between siblings, egoic. Between one family to other family, my family versus other family, my society, other, my religion or other, my country or the other. That same kind of collective or individual egoism that is allowed to really take over, and then it causes problems to both the individual and also everybody else around. So he was saying, instead of that, if you realize you are a conscious being, and then you are having ego as something of a tool that you need to use. So ego is a poor master, but a good slave. Make it a good slave. If you can teach the kids that, how much conflict we can avoid. That is something we have to think about. Anyway, I'm very happy that people came up, Bella and Will came up and talked about this. Anybody else wants to come up? Okay. All right, then we will close at this time. And thank you for joining me on this Sunday. And I'm very happy to share my concerns and my thinking and my uh, understanding of the issue, and also appreciate Bella and Will, their perspectives too. Thank you very much, and I'll be seeing you again tomorrow. Thank you.